Well, welcome back, everybody, to yet another member spotlight. Joining me today is Tim Horbury. Tim, hello, how are you?
Good, Bram. How are you?
Fantastic. It's great to see you. And obviously, today you're in your home office. Other times, you're actually just behind the wall here.
Yeah. Yes, I've been there several times this week, including running an event there yesterday, which you participated in, which was very good.
You're a smooth operator, Tim. I got to tell you, I like how you set the stage. You had an agenda, you stuck to the agenda, but you allowed people also to participate and interact. And here and there, we sometimes get carried away with a tangent, but you beautifully brought them back on track, which is well done. Speaking of which, I always like to introduce the audience a little bit and get them familiar with another member in our community. This time, somebody that, yes, lives in Australia, like me. But tell us a little bit more about you in short, Tim. Who are you? Why should people listen?
Yeah. Well, I like to think that people are drawn to my experience, particularly in business. And I spent a good 20 years in South Australia, here in Adelaide, running and developing businesses that are well known to people, involved at various management levels, and with various inputs to the development of those businesses, such as businesses like Harris Scarf, Trim's well-known Adelaide business, and the launch of the Raise Outdoors brand here in Adelaide back in the noughties, and a job that then took me to Sydney, where after I'd finished with Raise Outdoors, 7 years working with the family business, a great time, I got involved in franchising. So I have about 10 years of franchising experience across three well-recognised brands, one international, one national, on an Adelaide-based level, and one on an Australian-wide, well-known brand in the market. So that has developed and honed the skills that makes me attractive to people to want to work with. But I'm a family man. I've got a daughter here, two grandchildren. I grew up in regional Victoria. And so, close enough to my hometown from Adelaide that we can skid across when we need to, where my mum and dad still live. My wife's family has a family business there, which it was the beginning of my journey in mainstream retailing, which was in the rag trade.
Fantastic. And you now call yourself a business owner coach. Is that right?
Yeah, with a franchising expertise. So coaching is an experience thing for most people who enter into that. It comes at the end of executive level employment generally. So people are much more mature in their experience and they use the knowledge they've gleaned and gained over the time in their corporate life. Some people do go back and study, and certainly that is part of my journey, is spending time really to understand what coaching business owners is about. But specifically, I have the franchising expertise that there really are very few people in Adelaide, certainly, that have that skill set and apply it in that way. One part of my business is working with business owners in the alternative board model, which is an international brand, a franchise brand, and I own the territory of Adelaide for that brand, working with business owners in a coaching construct, but also providing them and facilitating an advisory board group setting. So group of business owners meeting like an advisory board for each other's businesses in the one group. And that's been a lot of fun. But of course, every time I meet with people and they hear about my franchising expertise, they want to know, is my business franchisable? How would I go about it? And certainly there is a coaching element, as well as the construct to another franchise business that I own called Franchise Ready.
Fantastic. Well, you touched on two pillars there of your business, two different businesses really, but they actually work quite harmoniously together. Let's start with the first one, TAB, the alternative board. That's obviously a peer-to-peer learning / advisory board capacity. Who do you find that really works well for?
The people that get the most out of it are business owners themselves. They generally have a journey that they've been on for a period of time owning a business, sometimes their second or third business. But most commonly when I sit with a business owner, there are several elements to the things that they're experiencing that they would like some help from somebody like me or even somebody like yourself. I mean, it's not exclusive, but predominantly business owners are isolated. They have to do all of the things to run the business. They have to know how everything works. They're the chief of all responsibilities. The buck stops with them. Multiple hats, we call it. They're the CEO, they're the CFO, and they're the CMO.
And a
let
janitor.
alone HR, operations, you name it. They're involved, right?
Yeah.
And the good ones are very skilled at managing those things, and their business succeeds. But there is always something that they need help with, and they often tell me, "I've got a great business, I've got a great culture, I've just got this one little problem." And that's the counsel that we provide, is just sitting with myself in a coaching construct, is talking about what that actual item is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not me telling them what to do, but leading them to working out what the solution is, a teach them to fish type process.
Yeah.
So that's a great, one-on-one construct. And the coaching sits alongside their peer advisory board meeting, which happens once a month. So separate sessions, and the groups meet for 4 hours for a legitimate board meeting that's talking about what's going on in their business, an update that they provide the board, progress on specific things they've been working on, and then a specific challenge that exists in their business that's really been bothering them. And in sometimes they actually think they know the solution, so they want somebody to run it past and get a sense of what others might do. And of course, the other people at the board table are business owners of their own business in a totally unrelated business. So the rich knowledge that they share is useful and leaned into to help them decide on what process and thing they should instigate into their business.
I'm curious now, how often would you find, as a facilitator and a coach to business owners, how often would you find that people come to you and say, this is my issue, or this is the problem, or this is a challenge that I have? And when you then start teasing it out, there's a lot more behind it. And often it's what they don't say that is more important.
Probably the interesting part of it is that it starts with one thing. Recently, somebody came and attended a board meeting on my invitation because they wanted to experience it for themselves and see whether there was a value from the issue that they had and from the peer group. And he was quite determined that he'd tried everything he knew to solve this particular issue, that there was no help out there and that there was no one who had the solution, which he called the unicorn solution. What he very quickly learned was that although that's the facade he was living in and understanding and believing, the other business owners recognised the challenge as something they'd all been through themselves, and very quickly challenged him with questions. And there's nothing better than a good question from somebody who's lived and breathed in your shoes in a business, to actually open your eyes and realise that your blinkered view actually has greater perspective. And then beneath it are the layers of the other elements of issues and challenges and problems. Now, in this case, this particular person had a really good culture and a really good method of developing his team. But that actually, in a sense, had blinkered him from finding the solution he needed. He was looking for something specific and he was impatient, but his methodology to achieve it was actually proven over 20 years of owning this business. So you can always learn, Bram. You and I know this about what we do. We're constantly learning, and we're very fortunate. We work with a lot of people who teach us these lessons without realizing that's what they're doing. But a 20-year veteran of owning a business who developed very good culture, had a challenge, and yet the solution was within him. He just needed somebody else to help him find it. And it came from the board, not from me.
So basically the peers are holding a mirror in front of them that really makes them own up to what they're doing and what they might not be doing.
It was the realization of, I actually do have the solution. I just hadn't looked at it that way.
Great.
It's very powerful. You see these board members and they're presenting the thoughts around what somebody should do once they finish the questioning. And you can see the resign on their face going, actually, I should be doing this. And they're taking notes and going, I actually need to do this myself. What am I telling you to do it for?
Yeah, I'll take my own advice.
It's fascinating to watch it evolve.
Absolutely. That brings me to the next question. How easily would people be coachable, even though they say they are?
Not everyone is. And I use sport a lot as an analogy for this. There are plenty of good people who are good coaches, and there are certainly plenty of sports, particularly in professional sports, who are excellent and recognised as really talented in their field or in their excellence within the sport, particularly in team sport. But unless they are prepared to work with somebody who can help provide the counsel around how to achieve the goals of the team, then they're never going to be achieved. You could be the most talented person. And I use the Michael Jordan analogy often. He was a widely recognised and established GOAT, as we refer to, in his field.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that team would ever have achieved the levels they achieved without the help of Phil Jackson. He didn't make Michael a better player. Michael was already excellent. He was brilliant by the time Phil Jackson got hold of him. But did they become a repeat 3-time champion team? They did, as a team, because the coach found a way to get the best out of each of the elements in the team. And there was a willingness from the participants to be coached that way. So when we talk about the business construct, there is often resistance. How could you possibly teach me something that I don't already know? Sometimes it's not even about that, is it? It's about the question.
Yeah, true.
And it's about the tell me more, because beneath the layers are the solutions. The owner often does know them, but they just haven't found the way to find the way to uncover what that solution is that they may already have in their kit bag.
That's an interesting one. So let's explore two things here, two avenues. It's either or. What happens to those business owners that come to a forum like the Alternative Board or to a business coach as a business owner and they seek out trusted advisory from you? The ones that aren't doing well, what's going wrong? And then we'll look at what are the ones that are highly successful, what are they doing differently? First, the one that is wrong.
You're doing the E or the or. We say that about franchising. You're either a franchisor or a franchisee, an E or an or.
Okay.
So to the premise of your initial question, what do they get? What benefits do they get? There is a really important element as why in the Alternative Board we refer to ourselves as business owner coaches. Most of the people who do what we do a very good job of coaching business owners or people, executives, etc., out in the field. However, with the TAB model, because of the balance of the board group and also the one-on-one session with myself, they get a very balanced output. They're often looking for specific things, and sometimes that begins with a specific thing like, I want growth. Certainly, I've worked with business owners who have managed to grow their business exponentially. More than 50% of our business owners get growth. There are statistics that we keep across the nations we operate in that are proof to that. But most commonly, the thing that they get from working with me is that feeling of not being on their own, of not being isolated. And then when they join a peer advisory board, they get the sense that they're not the only one feeling that way. The loneliness, the isolation. There's often things in our businesses we can't talk to our life partner about, let alone a business partner or a colleague. And in that safe forum, they have a group of trusted people. Chatham House rules, what gets spoken about does not leave that room. And they get the support of this peer group that actually care about their business. They start to really nurture and care about each other beyond my support. I just facilitate the process. And so the boards stay together and work together for over 4 years, some longer. A guy retired in the US just recently, and he'd been on a peer advisory board for 25 years, and he wanted to continue, even though he was retiring from his business, had sold it, had passed on to the next owner, but he wanted to continue because he loved that peer board group so much. They'd given him so much enrichment, both in his personal life and his business life. So they get a lot of things that they can't get from the standard mastermind groups, the big group settings, because it is very bespoke. Only 8 to 12 members sit around a table and they work together for a long period of time. As I said, people do come and go just like they do from anything.
And non-competitive, right? Non-competitive businesses.
No competitors, so they're isolated. Their IP is protected and sacrosanct. No suppliers or customers of any other business would sit on the same peer advisory board. It doesn't work. I've seen people try to do it, and ultimately it breaks down because I can't talk about that because it involves you and you're my customer or you're my supplier.
Yeah, I remember also signing on the dotted line a non-disclosure agreement prior to starting the session. So it just helps people do the right by each other.
Yeah, very powerful, and it's a very principal and long-standing part of the alternative board. So there is a sense of the sanctity of the agreement that I have to facilitate. And if I see somebody breach that, then it is my duty to protect the board and the board members and address it. And it very infrequently happens. Particularly, I've found in Adelaide, South Australians, once they become accustomed to something like, become very trusted. And they trust their board groups immensely. And even when board members leave, the relationships stick, much like they can in networking groups, for example, where people leave networking groups because of various pressures on life. That doesn't mean the relationships end. They don't, if there's a trusted and built rapport.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that leads me back to the question though. What do you see if there's one thing that people either get right or they don't as a business owner, from your perspective as a trusted advisor to them? What's the main difference?
What do they not get right? Is that what you're asking?
So for a business owner to do become highly successful at what they do, there's one key thing that might be the difference between becoming highly successful or not. What do you see as the number one thing?
The most common thing I see, and this is a belief that I've held with me since becoming a corporate, the most successful business owners take a leaf out of somebody like a Richard Branson and surround themselves with people who are either smarter or have a capacity to do things that the business owner can't. You can't do it all on your own. The buck does stop with you, but the reality is you need good people, and a good business will always have really good people in it. A business that's not doing so well, that will be the difference. It is the people. You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have good people, the reputation, the brand won't stand the test of time.
Great answer. And I want to go a little bit further. I want to kind of rattle the cage a little bit for everybody watching, yeah? Where the question of, if somebody, a business owner, is complaining about their staff, what does it tell you as a trusted advisor working with him? Is it the people or is it something else?
Well, I think many of your followers will know the answer to this question. And this is probably the most common challenge that comes up at the first meetings around the team. It's one of the things I ask about first is, tell me about your business, tell me about your team. And most commonly people answer with, I've got a pretty good team. Not I've got a great team, not I've got an excellent team. That's very rare. And the reality of business is that it's always evolving, because as businesses grow and shrink and pressures on the business change, so too does the number of people involved, because the smart business owner makes those calls, those rationales about the equity of the business to survive. If they don't, then it doesn't. Most commonly, business owners will tell you they've got good culture, but if they've got one person that they're not satisfied with, that's where the culture breaks down and becomes a problem. And the business owner is actually at the core of the reason for it. Not because they don't want a great team or a great business or a great culture. They generally do, but it is about behaviour. And as an exponent of the DISC profiling, you yourself understand that psychometric evaluation provides great insights into understanding how others behave and think, not just yourself, but also how to temper the way you talk to your team and other individuals, people in your business, and adjust your profile to suit the listener. That's very difficult to do, but good leaders are very good at it. The aptitude of intuition and recognizing the moment and listening to what somebody's saying and then applying those principles. So a good leader will not have cultural problems. From time to time, yes, things will slip past, but if you have surrounded yourself with people who are really good at what they do, the filters should exist with those people as well. And intuition will tell you that at some point, somebody will say to you, by the way, did you realize the way you just talked to that employee, that supervisor, that team leader came across like this? So the sense of having people who can talk to you and you allow them to talk to you like that is a key element to success in leading people.
Great one. Look, I'm mindful of time here, Tim. I know you're a busy man as well. You got always lots on the go. Just to wrap it up, where can people find you? Should they have a question about either, how you can coach them on a one-to-one level, whether they can potentially join a tab forum or even they want to look into franchising, where can I find you?
So there's lots of places. The key one would be LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn profile. It's just my name. Very easy to find. The spelling's a bit unique, so not too many people in Australia with a surname like mine, but certainly have email addresses for both brands. Tim Horbury is an easy way to find me if you search. Tim.Horbury at the Alternative Board will get you through to this brand, and tim@franchiseready.com.au is probably the simpler one to use because there's less letters in it. I'm happy to sit down with somebody for a cup of coffee, investigate whether there's something worth doing. I love that coffee catch up. I do a lot of that. I really enjoy it, hearing people's stories and working out whether there's a value proposition to work together or not.
Great. And of course, Zoom and phone calls if people happen to be interstate or maybe overseas.
Yeah, I do have clients across Australia. So I've got 2 up in Cairns at the moment I'm working with. Both want to franchise their business, and there's a coaching construct. I've got a customer in Port Pirie here in South Australia who wants to franchise her business, and she's just started the journey. And then I've got a guy who's on an advisory board in the Alternative Board system on the Accelerator program for younger businesses. He's in Melbourne, and I've got an Adelaide person sits on that. The Port Pirie lady sits on that, and also somebody from the Sunshine Coast. So yes, we have customers from various parts of the world. Zoom makes things a lot easier these days.
Thank God for COVID. There was actually a good thing about it.
I've got to say, Bram, I was an early adopter. I was using Zoom back when I lived in Sydney because looking after New South Wales for the 3 brands required, not so much being unwilling to travel, because I did travel broadly from Dubbo, Coffs Harbour, Bateman's Bay, Wagga, Nowra, Bathurst, Orange, you name it. But the reality is often the requirement of bringing people together meant that Zoom provided that opportunity in sense of bringing people from franchising together so they could share best practice. And that bringing them together is a really important part of successful franchising.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Not a member spotlight that we now finished off, but hey, it's a pleasure working with you. I look forward to continuing the journey together, and thank you for coming on, sharing some of your expertise here with our viewers, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in person, in the flesh, in the office right here.
Certainly will, Bram. I've really enjoyed being part of it, and the team of people you're building into that facility, some of whom are colleagues that I've known for a while. So it's really great to be part of it. I really am enjoying it.
Great. Virtual high five. There you go. Thanks, everyone. I'll close this session for now, but I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.